Okay, so I am going to start. Cool, sorry, that was just a check. I'm going to go over this study guide that I gave you all and hopefully give you all some answers. So, let's begin. What is the third in A? It's a typo. My apologies. 7 of 2 in B major. All right, we're going to go through this. So, B major has an F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, and an A sharp. So, we'll do it down here. C, G, D, and A. All right, so A2 in the B major would be an A. Or it would be a C sharp. Sorry, went the other way. So, a C sharp a C sharp, a 7 of a C sharp would be right behind it a B sharp, which is a raised tonic. So, after that, let me just double check. The third in a B sharp diminished chord, a B sharp major chord, is B sharp, D double sharp, and F double sharp. An easy way to think of this is to just think of a B major chord and then sharp everything. So a minor chord would be B sharp, D sharp, F double sharp, and a diminished chord would be B sharp, D sharp, and F sharp. So the answer is a D sharp. So let's plug it in, see what happens. All right, the fifth of a 7 of 5 in C major. We'll go through this one a lot quicker. I got a new marker. They're sturdy. So, in C major, the fifth would be C, D, E, F, G, would be G. So, in the 7 of G major would be an F sharp. So you're making an F diminished chord, F sharp diminished chord in G major. I'm trying to stay out of the way so you can kind of see it. And we're looking for the fifth. So you're looking for an F sharp chord based in the scale of G major. So it would be F sharp, A, and C. So your note is just C. So we're going to write C. Moving on down. First pitch in a 7 of 6 in B flat minor. Okay. So, in B flat minor, you have 5 flats because it's a relative minor of D flat major. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the same thing up here. And G flat. So the 6 and B flat, you would go B, A, G, B, C, D, E, F, and then G. So it's G flat chord, or G flat would be your bass note. And from G flat, you would have a 7. So in order to make a 7 of G flat, you would just need an F. And you need to make an F diminished chord. So an F minor chord is F, A flat, and C. To make it diminished, you would flat the 5th, F, A flat, C flat. So there's your diminished note. All right, what type of chord does a secondary leading tone chord most relate to functionally? So this sounds like a complicated question, but I promise it's not. You can, all it's asking is that a secondary leading tone chord is essentially a substitution of one specific chord, and that is a secondary dominant chord. But I'm just going to write secondary dominant. Went the wrong way. Here's my face again. All right. All right. Moving on. Which of these keys is not a closely related key in A minor? So, all you need to know is what kind of keys are one sharp or flat or share the same key signature as A minor. So, D major has 2 sharps. A minor has 0. So, that's already it. But let's go ahead and continue going through. C major is the relative major of A minor. F major has 1 flat, so it is a closely related key, and G major has 1 sharp, so it's a closely related key on the other side of F minor. Which key is a key that is closely related to B major? B major has several sharps, 5 of them. So, E major has 4 sharps. C minor has 3 flats, so that's the answer. A major has 3 sharps, and C sharp major has, which is a key that is closely related to, went the opposite way. E major's the only one. Which type of modulation is a common method of modulation to a closely related key that was discussed in our course? This sounds like a complicated question, but this is really just what have I talked about before. Pivot chord modulation is something that we've talked about. That is where you go use a chord that is in one key or a secondary dominant in one key to modulate to another key. Like using a 5 of 5 in C major, which would be a D major chord, to go to G major. A Viennese modulation I made up. A tritone modulation is a modulation based on you getting to the tritone chord to modulate to the key that is a tritone away from that tritone chord. The tritone modulation is not something we've talked about, though, so don't worry about it. And a predominant modulation is a modulation that I made up. So it's pivot chord modulation. Select all acceptable methods of keyboard analysis. This is a good way to write a keyboard part. Alberti bass, that's the 1-5-3-5. Bum 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 bum. You know, arpeggiated chords, it's just taking, instead of a block chord, you would take and just run up the members of the chord. That's another method. Contrapuntal figure is just writing something that makes a chord that is another melodic line in the left hand when the right hand's on the melody. And block chords, while they are very basic, they are acceptable. So all of those are correct. Secondary chords can be used for the following: tonicizations, yes. Harmony extensions, yes. And by that, I mean, well, first, tonicizations is whenever you emphasize a key within another key. So going a section that's like 2, 5, 5, 5, let's say in G or C major, so D minor, D major, G major would emphasize G major as opposed to C major, the key that you are in. But that's not really a modulation. So that's what a tonicization is. A harmony extension is whenever you use a secondary dominant, well, not just a secondary dominant, but in this case, you would use a secondary dominant to continue on a prolongation of those classic harmonies that we talk about all the time in theory, which is tonic, predominant, and dominant. So in that example I just gave, 2, 5, 5, 5, the 5 of 5 is just an extension of the predominant chord, or predominant harmony, excuse me, that was started by the 2. And then it goes to dominant on the 5, obviously. A cadential figure is just talking about whenever a cadence happens, and I'm sure a lot of you have already seen, and you know from me telling you in class how often a 5 of 5, 5, 1 happens to make a perfect authentic cadence or an imperfect authentic cadence, or just 5 of 5, 5 is a half cadence. So far, all of this is true, but directly modulate is not true. You don't use a secondary dominant to directly modulate. Direct modulation is whenever you're in one key and then all of a sudden you go into the next key. That's it. You don't use a pivot chord. You don't use any type of chord or any type of motivic sequence to get you from one key to another. It's very popular in pop music, where you're just in one key, boom, you're in another key. So this question is false. And finally, my online lectures are all meetings through the app Zoom. Well, if you've gotten this far, you know this is false, because this is a YouTube video. I'm doing all my class through YouTube videos and online assignments. So if you haven't seen this yet, which obviously you have, but if you know of a friend who hasn't seen it yet, make them watch these videos. All right. That's it. I'm going to review this. I hope you were able to see the whiteboard. If not, I will just add in me writing on a whiteboard separately by myself. Good luck on the test tomorrow.